The laughter was getting louder, more excited, like they knew I was listening. I pulled the trigger. The pain hit like a hammer, sharp and bright. Blood started seeping through my boot immediately. The laughter stopped like someone had flipped a switch, 2 towel slants, except for my own breathing and the ringing in my ears from the gunshot. I keyed my radio. Base, this is Collins. Rule 3, compliance requesting immediate extraction. Copy that. Collins Ava's voice came back. Medical en route. Can you make it to the trailhead? I looked down at my foot. Blood was pooling around my boot, but I could still put weight on it. Affirmative. Moving to extraction point now. The walk back took 20 minutes. Each step sent pain shooting up my leg, but I'd done this before. Knew what to expect. Lawrence and Karen were waiting with the ambulance when I limped out of the trees. Same location as last time, Lawrence asked, as the paramedics loaded me into the ambulance. About a 4-mile further north, I said. 4 or 5 voices this time. We'll check it out. The ride to Duth was getting familiar. Same paramedic, same questions about how the accident happened. I gave the same answers about cleaning my weapon, an accidental discharge. Nobody believed it, but nobody pushed too hard either. Dr. Patterson was waiting in the emergency room. She looked at me and shook her head. You again. Me again. Same foot. Other foot this time. She examined the wound while I sat on double entry and exit wounds. Clean holes through the outer edge. Missed important bones again, though it hurt like hell. You know, she said while cleaning the wound. Most people who shoot them don't do it twice. I'm unlucky or very lucky, depending on how you look at it. She started bandaging my foot. This is deliberate, isn't it? The angle, the placement. You're doing this on purpose? I didn't answer. Why? She asked. Lawrence stepped into the room. Dr. Patterson. Could we have a moment? She looked back and forth between us. This is my patient, Chief Lawrence. I understand. But there are some things you need to know about our work up there. She finished the bandage and stepped back. I'll give you 5 minutes. Then I want to know why my patient keeps shooting himself in the foot. Lawrence waited until she left, then pulled a chair close to the bed. Same laughter. Multiple voices circling around me like we're playing a game. You followed protocol immediately. Soon as I heard them, no hesitation. Lawrence nodded. Good, man. We found something else out there today. What kind of something? Another body. Hiker named Tom Brennan reported missing 3 days ago. Found him about 50 yards from where you shot yourself. I felt cold despite the warm room. Same as Gardner. Worse. Brennan's face was carved up like someone took a knife to it. Smile went from ear to ear. Literally, eyes were gone, completely. Hands pressed against his ears, so hard his fingers went through the skin. Jesus. Rule 3. Saved your life again, Collins. Whatever's out there, it doesn't like the sound of gunshots. Or maybe just respects people who follow the rules. Dr. Patterson came back in. Time's up. He wants answers. Lawrence looked at me, then back at her. Doctor, what I'm about to tell you is going to sound impossible. Try me. So Lawrence told her about the rules, about the disappearances, about the things in the forest that didn't show up on any survey. He kept it simple, just the facts. Dr. Patterson listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. You're telling me don't shut himself to avoid being killed by invisible children. That's exactly what I'm telling you. And you have evidence of this. 14 missing Grangers and 2 dead hikers in the past year. She looked at my bandaged foot, then back at Lawrence. This is insane. Yes, ma'am, it is. But you believe it. I've seen the bodies, doctor. I've seen what happens when people don't follow the rules. She turned to me. And you? You believe this? I thought about Gardner's face, about Brian's empty boots, about the laughter circling through the trees. I believe staying alive. She prescribed pain medication and gave me care instructions for the bandage. Same routine as before. Keep it clean. Change the dressing daily. Come back if there's infection. She didn't ask any more questions about why I'd shot myself. Either you're the smartest ranger in Minnesota, she said as I was leaving, or the craziest. Both, I said. Fall came early that year. Leaves started changing in September. And by October, we were back to needing jackets for morning patrols. Theorists cleared out after Labor Day, which made our job easier. Fewer people to redirect. Fewer chances for civilians to wander into the wrong areas. I was scheduled for a 3-day patrol in mid-October, checking trail conditions and updating winter closure signs. Remote area near the Canadian border about 15 miles from base. Lawrence didn't like sending people out alone for overnight trips, But we were short-staffed again, and the work needed doing. Radio check every 2 hours, he said while going over my route. If anything feels wrong, anything at all, you abort and come back. What about the overnight protocol? There's a ranger cabin at mile marker 12. You'll stay there both nights. Cabin's been cleared for emergency use. I looked at the map. The cabin sat in a small clearing about a 4-mile off the main trail. Built in the 70s as a firewatch station, now used for extended patrols when rangers couldn't make it back to base. What about the 1-to-4 rule? Cabin counts as base for overnight stays, but you follow the same protocol. No going outside between 1 and 4 a.m. No matter what you hear. The first day went smooth. Checked trail markers, cleared some fallen branches, updated signs about winter closures starting in November. Weather was perfect, about 50 with clear skies. My foot was still sore from the August shooting, but the limp was barely noticeable now. I reached the cabin around 4:30 in the afternoon. Small building, maybe 20 by 20 feet, with a wood stove and basic supplies. Solar panel on the roof powered a radio and some LED light. 2 windows, one facing the trail and one facing the back clearing. I set up my gear and made dinner on the camp stove. Beans and rice, nothing fancy. Radioed base at 6 to confirm arrival and status. Everything normal, no problems. The sun set around 7 o'clock. I kept the lights low and read training manuals until about 10 o'clock. I then got ready for bed. Set my watch alarm for 5 a.m. and double-checked the radio battery. At midnight, I got up and checked the door. Solid wood with a heavy deadbolt. I turned the bolt and pushed a chair against the door for good measure. Then I checked the windows. Both had sturdy latches that I locked it tight. Lawrence had been clear about the protocol. Stay inside no matter what. Don't look outside unless absolutely necessary. Don't respond to sounds. Wait for dawn. I lay in my bunk and listened to the forest. Normal sounds at first. Wind in the trees, small animals moving through the underbrush, an owl hooting somewhere in the distance. I checked my watch every few minutes. Las 12:15, las 12:30. 12 for 5. At 1:15, something started walking around the cabin. The footsteps were heavy, deliberate, not an animal, too regular, too purposeful. Something walking on 2 legs, moving slow circle around the building. I could hear each step clearly, the crunch of dead leaves under whatever was out there. I stayed in my bunk and didn't move, didn't go to the window, didn't call out, didn't reach for my radio, just lay there and listened to the footsteps going round and round. The steps were methodical, same pace, same interval between each one, like someone measuring the distance around the cabin, counting off paces around and around, never stopping, never changing speed. I looked at my watch. 1:30, the footsteps continued. 1:45, still walking. 2 a.m. around and around. At 2:15, I couldn't help myself. I got up quietly and moved to the window, facing the trail. Lifted the edge of the curtain just enough to see out. Nothing. The clearing was empty, pale into moonlight, but I could still hear the footsteps clear as anything. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Circling the cabin like whatever was out there was wearing a path in the ground. I let the curtain fall and went back to my bunk. King continued. 2:30, 2:45, 3 a.m. The footsteps never stopped, never varied. Same steady pace, same route around the building. I started counting the steps between circuits. 47 steps. Then the sound would move past the front door and start around again. 47 steps every time. At 3:30, I was wondering if I was losing my mind. Maybe tessellation was getting to me. Maybe I was hearing things that weren't there. But the footsteps were real. I could feel them through the floor. Small vibrations with each step. Whatever was out there had weight, had substance. It was real. 4 a.m. came and went. The footsteps continued. 4:01, 4:02, 4:03. At 4:04, the footsteps stopped. Complete silence. No wind, no animals, nothing. Like the forest was holding its breath. I lay in my bunk until dawn, listening to nothing. When the sun came up, I checked my watch. 5:15. I'd been awake for almost 4 hours. I got dressed and made coffee, then unlocked the door and stepped outside. The morning air was cold and clean. Birds were singing in the trees. Everything looked normal. I walked around the cabin looking for tracks. Found them immediately. Perfect circle of footprints in the soft earth. Maybe 6 feet out from the walls. The prints were strange though. Smooth depressions in dirt like someone wearing shoes with no tread. No detail, no pattern, just oval shapes pressed into the ground. I counted the prints. 47 between the front door and the back corner. 47 between the back corner and the side. 47 all the way around. The circle was perfect. No deviation. No places where Thwaka had stepped closer to or further from the cabin. Just a perfect ring of smooth footprints with no beginning and no end. I radioed base at 6 a.m. Collins to base. Status normal overnight. Stay completed without incident. Copy that. Collins. Lawrence's voice came back. Any problems? I looked at the circle of prints around the cabin. No problems. Continuing patrol asked Kachelt. I finished the patrol and made it back to base 2 days later. Lawrence asked about the overnight stay, and I told him it went fine. Didn't mention the footsteps or the circle off prints, some things you keep to yourself. But I knew what I'd heard. Something had walked around that cabin for 3 hours straight, measuring out a perfect circle in the dark. Something that left smooth footprints with no detail. Something that stopped walking 8 exactly. 4:01 a.m. Lawrence knocked on my door around 8:00 in the morning. I'd been up for an hour already making coffee and looking out at fresh snow that had fallen overnight. Must been 3 or 4 in. Come in, I called. He stepped inside and shut the door behind him. Had that serious look he got when something important was happening. Coffee's fresh, I said, pointing at the pot. Thanks. He poured himself a cup and sat down at my kitchen table. We need to talk. I sat across from him. What's going on? Karen's transferring out, he said. Requested it last week. She's had enough. That surprised me. Karen had been solid for 3 years. Never broke a rule. Never complained about the weird stuff we dealt with. Where's she going? Yellowstone nor Morango work. Bears and tourists, instead of whatever the hell we've got here. He sipped my coffee. Couldn't blame her. 3 years of following rules that made no sense to anyone outside this place would wear on anybody. So, we're down to 3 rangers. I said .2, actually. Ava's still green. Barely been here 6 months. Lawrence leaned back in his chair, which brings me to why I'm here. I waited. I'm promoting you to senior ranger, he said. Effective immediately. That caught me off guard. I'd been at station a year and a half, but senior ranger meant training new people, teaching them the rules, making sure they understood. What happened if they screwed up? You sure about that? You followed every rule perfectly? Lawrence said 3 times you've shot yourself in the foot when you heard the order. That shows discipline. Shows you understand what's at stake. I thought about Brian's empty boots, Gardner's carved smile, Casey's footprints ending at nothing. What does senior ranger mean exactly? You'll train the new recruits, teach them the rules, show them how to use the equipment. He paused. And you'll decide they're ready for solo patrols. That was a lot of responsibility. Making throng call could get someone killed. When do I start? Today. We've got a rookie coming in this afternoon, fresh out of the academy. Lawrence finished his coffee. Her name's Ava Graves, 26 years old, top of her class. What's her background? Military police for 4 years, then forestry degree. Smart, disciplined, good physical condition. He stood up. But she doesn't know about the rules yet. I nodded. That was always the hardest part. Explaining to someone that everything they thought they knew about ranger work didn't apply here. I'll handle it, I said. Good. She'll be here around 2. Lawrence headed for the door, then stopped. Don't. These new people look up to senior rangers. They need to see that following the rules keeps you alive. After he left, I sat at the table thinking about what he'd said. Karen had lasted 3 years by following every rule exactly. Now she was getting out while still could. Smart move. Probably. I got dressed and headed to the station around 10 o'clock. Ava was already there, sitting at Casey's old desk with paperwork spread out in front of her. She looked up when I walked in. You must be Don Cohen, she said, standing up. I'm Ava Graves. She was about 5'5", athletic build, with short black hair and dark brown eyes. Her uniform was crisp and new, like she'd pressed it that morning. Welcome to the station, I said. How's the drive up? Not bad. Left Minneapolis around 6 o'clock. Shegitched at the paperwork. Chief Lawrence has me filling out forms. Standard procedure. You'll be doing a lot of paperwork here. She laughed. So I've heard, though. I have to ask about what you think. She pointed at the wall behind Lawrence's desk. Those photos. Are they former rangers? I looked at the wall. 15 photos now, arranged in 3 rows of 5. Brian, Gardner, Casey, all the others who'd come before. They are, I said. Where are they now? That was always the question. I pulled out my wallet and took out the laminated card Lawrence had given me on my first day. The edges were worn from, but the 4 rules were still clear. Read this first, I said, handing it to her. She read it silently, her expression changing as she went through each rule. When she finished, she looked up at me. Is this some kind of joke? No joke. Shoot yourself in the foot if you hear children laughing. She laughed nervously. Come on. I pulled up my pant leg and showed her the scars on my left foot. 3 small round marks where bullets had gone through. I've done it 3 times, I said. Each time, it saved my life. Her laugh died. You serious? Dead serious? I pointed at the wall of photos. Everyone up there broke one after his rules. That's why they're not here anymore. She stared at the photos, then back at the card. What do you mean they're not here anymore? They disappeared. We find their boots sometimes, but that's it. Lawrence came out of his office and joined us. Ava, I see Doan showing you the rules. Chief Lawrence, with respect, this doesn't make any sense, she said. Children laughing in the woods isn't dangerous. Compasses spin when there's magnetic interference. And shooting yourself in the foot is just self-harm. Show her Gardner's file, I said to Lawrence. Lawrence went to his filing cabinet and pulled out a manila folder. He handed it to Ava, who opened it and started reading. I watched her face as she went through the incident report, the crime scene photos, the coroner's findings. This says his face was carved ear to ear, she said quietly. That's what happens when you hear the laughter and follow Rule 3, Lawrence said. She flipped through more pages and high sides were removed. We've found 4 bodies like that over the past 2 years, I said. All of them heard children laughing. All of them failed to shoot themselves. Ava closed the file and handed it back to Lawrence. She was quiet for a long minute. Assuming this is real, she said finally. What exactly is out there? We don't know, Lawrence said. We just know the rules. Keep you alive. Have you ever seen anything? No, I said, but I've heard things. Footsteps around cabins at night. Laughter in empty woods. Sounds that don't belong. She picked up the rule card again and read it more carefully. Never leave the base between 1 and 4 a.m. What happens if you do? Asked in Casey, Lawrence said, pointing at one of the photos. He lasted 5 days. How did Hetty? We don't know if he's dead, I said. We just know he left the station at 2:30 in the morning, and all we found were his boots. Ava looked at the photos again, studying each face. 15 people. 15 people who thought they knew better than the rules, Lawrence said. She was skeet. Again, processing everything. I could see her trying to make sense of fifth, looking for logical explanations that would make the rules unnecessary. I want to see where these incidents happened, she said. Not yet, I said. First, you learn the basics. How to use the grabber tool. Radio procedures. Patrol routes. After a few weeks, if you're ready, we'll take you to some of the sites. I need to understand what I'm dealing with. You're dealing with something that kills people who don't follow 4 simple rules, Lawrence said. That's all you need to understand right now. I spent the rest of the morning going over equipment with her. Showed her the grabber tool, how to extend it, and worked mechanical fingers. Explained radio protocols, check-in procedures, emergency codes, went through the map, and marked the main patrol routes. Always carry a compass, I said, handing her a military-style compass like mine. Check it every few minutes. If it starts spinning, run back to base immediately. What if I'm miles out? Run anyway. Don't stop. Don't investigate. Don't try to figure out what's causing it. Just run. She clipped the compass to her belt. And the grabber tool. Never touch anything with your bare hands. Trash, personal items, anything you find on the trails. Use the grabber tool every time with happens. If I touch something directly. I thought about Clay Lucas, whose boots Steed found the morning after he picked up a wallet. You disappeared. We broke for lunch around noon. Ava asked more questions about the missing rangers, the incident sites, evidence they'd found. I answered what I could, but there wasn't much to say. People broke the rules and vanished. That was the pattern. Has anyone ever survived breaking a rule? She asked. No, I said. Not once. So, the rules are absolute, completely absolute. No exceptions. No special circumstance, no judgment calls. You follow them exactly, or you end up on that wall. After lunch, I took her on our first patrol. Short loop, just 2 miles to get her used to the routine. Temperature was around 20, with a light wind that made it feel colder. Stay close, I said as we headed into the trees. Watch what I do. We followed the blue trail markers through dense pine forest. I checked my compass every few minutes, showed her how to scan the area, pointed out landmarks she'd need to remember. It's quiet, she said after we'd been walking for 20 minutes. Always is in winter. Most of the wildlife's either hibernating or moved south. No, I mean really quiet. like dead quiet. She was right. No wind in the trees, no birds, no small animals moving through the underbrush, just our footsteps crunching in the snow. "You'll get who Seto it," I said, though the silence bothered me, too. We found a plastic water bottle half buried near a tree trunk. I pulled out the grabber tool and demonstrated how to pick it up without icking it directly. "Seems excessive for a water bottle," Ava said. "Maybe. But Lucas thought the same thing about a wallow." I dropped the bottle in our trash bag. "Better. Excessive and dead." We finished the patrol without incident and got back to the station around 4 o'clock. Lawrence was at his desk, doing paperwork. "How'd it go?" he asked. "Good," I said. "She's got good instincts. Follows directions." "I still have questions," Ava said. "Questions are fine," Lawrence said. "Just don't let them make you careless." That evening, I sat in my cabin going over training materials, planning out the next few weeks. Ava seemed smart and disciplined, but I thought the same thing about Casey. The rules sounded crazy to anyone hearing them for the first time. The trick was getting people to follow them anyway. I looked at my own copy of the rules, the laminated card I'd carried for a year and a half. For simple sentences that meant the difference between going home at night and ending up as a photo on Lawrence's wall. The scars on my feet hacked in the cold. 3 times I'd heard the laughter. 3 times I'd pulled that to get better scars than standing boots, like I'd told Ruby Patterson. Booty wondered how many more times I'd have to shoot myself before something else got me. Outside, the wind picked up and snow started falling again. Tomorrow, I'd take Ava on a longer patrol, show her more of the area. Keep teaching her rules until they became automatic. Because in this place, automatic was the only way to stay alive. 5 years went by faster than I thought they would. I'm still here, still checking my compass every 30 seconds, still using the grabber tool for everything, still carrying that .22 caliber bullet in my pocket. Though I've gone through a lot more bullets than just the one Lawrence gave me that first day. 7 times now. 7 times I've heard children laughing in the woods and put a bullet through my foot. Left foot got 4 of them. Right foot got 3. Ruby Patterson stopped asking questions after the 3rd visit. Just patches me up and sends me home with pain pills and that. Look, doctors get when they know something's wrong but can't prove it. The scars don't hurt as much anymore except when it's really cold. Then they ache like hell. I've trained 16 in those 5 years. 12 of them are gone now. Their boots are in evidence drudge, with all the others lined up in neat rows like Lawrence keeps everything else around here. Ava made it 8 months bare. She decided to investigate some footprints she found near Disappointment Lake. Marcus lasted 6 weeks. Thought thorals were suggestions. Jenny followed them perfectly for 2 years. Then her compass started spinning their eagle's nest and she froze instead of running. By the time we found her boots, they were covered in snow. The ones who made it transferred out. Can't blame them. This isn't the kind of job you do for a career. It's the kind that either kills you or teaches you things you wish you didn't know. Lawrence retired 3 years ago. Moved to Florida, he said. Somewhere warm where the only thing that spins is ceiling fans. David Reeves took over a state. He's younger than Lawrence was, maybe 45, but he's got the same look in his eyes. The look that says he's seen things he can't explain and learned not to question what works. Reeves came up from Voigors National Park. Spent his first week reading through all the incident reports, studying the photos, asking questions. Then he went out on patrol with me and heard the laughter for himself. Didn't hesitate when I told him to shoot his foot. Smart man. He's been here 3 years now and hasn't lost a ranger yet. But that's mostly because we've gotten better at screening applicants. These days, I'm the one who gives new recruits the talk. Show them the wall of photos. Hand them the laminated card. Explain about the grabber tool. Some of them laugh. Those ones don't usually make it past the interview. The ones who ask serious questions, who look at my scars and understand what they mean. Those are really ones we keep. I've gotten good at reading people. You have to in this job. The cocky ones who think they know better. The curious ones who want to understand why. The scared ones follow rules because they are terrified. The scared ones do best. Fear keeps. You will live out here. My compass has spun 43 times in 5 years. I count them. Each time I run back to base. Heart pounding, legs burning, knowing that whatever's out there wanted to be found and I didn't let it happen. We mark those areas off limits. For a week, then try again. Sometimes the problem moves. Sometimes it stays put. There's no pattern I can see. But I stopped looking for patterns after the 2nd year. Patterns are for things that make sense. The forest doesn't make sense. I've seen things I don't talk about in my reports. Footprints that appear overnight. Perfect circles around the station. Trees that weren't there the day before. Standing exactly where we found someone's boots. Sounds that don't match any animal I know. Coming from directions where nothing lives. But I follow the rules, so I'm still here to see them. Rule 4 saved my life more times than I can count. Those nights when something walks around the cabin, testing doors and windows, counting steps like it's measuring something. I stay in my bunk, door locked, chair wedged under the handle, waiting for 4 a.m. when whatever it is goes away. Sometimes I hear voices outside. Sometimes they sound like rangers who disappeared. Sometimes they sound like people I know are still alive calling for help, but I didn't open the door. Rule 4 exists for a reason. The grabber tool is like an extension of me hand. Now I can pick up a dime with it, pluck a leaf from a branch, collect evidence without ever touching anything directly. New rangers think it's excessive until they see what happened to the ones who didn't use it. We've got photos of that, too. Though we don't show them unless we have to. Some things are better described than seen. I've run training exercises where I drop a wallet on the trail and watch the new recruits' reaction. The ones who reach for it with bare hands get sent home. The ones who stop, think, then use the grabber tool. Those ones might make it. It's a simple test, but it tells you everything you need to know about whether someone can follow rules. That didn't make sense. The children's laughter is the worst part. It always sounds so real, so innocent, like kids playing hide and seek in the woods, having the time of their lives. Your brain wants to investigate, wants to help, wants to understand why children would be out there alone. But I've learned to trust the rules more than my instincts. The moment I hear that laughter, my hand goes to my weapon. No hesitation, no guessing, just draw, aim, fire. It saves my life every time. 7 bullets through 7 different spots on my feet. I've gotten good at picking locations that won't hit bone, won't cause permanent damage. The pain is sharp and immediate, but it stops the odor, always stops the laughter. Whatever makes that sound, it doesn't like the smell of blood. Or maybe it just knows the rules, too. Knows that someone who will shoot themselves, to follow protocol, isn't going to break easy. Ruby Patterson retired last year. New doctor at the hospital is named Mitchell, and he asks fewer questions than Ruby did. Just treats the wounds, prescribes the pills, tells me to stay off my feet for a few days. Maybe Ruby warned him about the rangers from the boundary waters. Maybe he's smart enough not to dig too deep into things he can change. The scars are neat and small now. I've got the technique down to a Sion's .22 caliber doesn't do much damage if you place it right. Hurts like hell for a week, aches for a month, then settles into a dull through and through other changes. Small price to pay for staying alive. I think about the rangers who didn't make it, especially Brian since he was my first partner. Sometimes, I wonder if Fest's still out there somewhere, if whatever took him kept him alive for some reason. But I know better than toe under too hard. Wondering leads to investigating, and investigating gets you killed. The new recruits always ask the same questions. Why these rules? Why this place? What's really out there? I tell them what Lawrence told me. It doesn't matter why. What matters is following the rules exactly every time, without exception. The moment you start making exceptions, you end up as boots in evidence storage. Some of them push back, want scientific explanations, logical reasons, proof that the supernatural threats are real. I show them Gardner's file, let them read the autopsy report, explained about the carved faces and missing eyes. Most of them stop asking questions after that. Theons who usually don't last long. I've become good at my job in ways I never expected. Not just the ranger work. Tracking, navigation, wilderness survival, but theothopats, reading people, teaching rules, knowing when someone's about to break. It's like being a priest for our religion, that worships survival, where the commandments are written on laminated cards, and the punishment for breaking them is disappearing forever. 5 years, and I'm still here, still following the rules, still training new rangers who might, or might not, make it through their first month, still checking my compass, still using my grabber tool, still carrying that bullet in my pocket. The forest is still out there waiting, testing us, watching us, looking for the moment when someone gets careless, or curious, or brave. But as long as we follow the rules, as long as we remember that some things are more important than understanding, we stay alive. Most of us, anyway, have learned to live with the not knowing. Learned that survival sometimes means accepting that the world contains things beyond explanation, and the smartest response isn't to figure them out, but to respect them. The rules work. That's enough. Tomorrow, there will be another patrol, Another chance to follow protocol. Another opportunity to stay alive by doing exactly what the card says. I'll check my compass every 30 seconds. Use my grabber tool for everything. Listen for laughter I hope I don't hear. And make sure I'm back at base before 1 a.m. because the rules aren't suggestions. They're not guidelines or recommendations or, best practices. They're the difference between going home at the end of the day and becoming another pair of empty piodes in evidence. And after 5 years of following them exactly, I'm still here to tell you that